Welcome back to All Things Unexplained. If you missed part 1 or 2 of our conversation with Lee Starks, author of Orbit and UFO Experiencer, you'll want to go back and catch up, because things in part 3 get even more intriguing. It's time to go even deeper into Lee's first-hand encounters with the unknown, the real-life inspirations behind Orbit, and the chilling truths hidden within his near-death experience. Buckle up, folks, and get ready. It's time to orbit the unexplained.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic threw their plans against us.
All of a sudden, a stick out of nowhere landed right in front of us, and there was no tree, nothing overhead. Something threw it at us.
Yeah.
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
All Things Unexplained is free to watch on YouTube and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support our show, you can visit our YouTube store. Additionally, you can find us on Venmo under All Things Unexplained. Be sure to check out our website, allthingsunexplained.com. All proceeds from the sales of Dr. Mounce's books on Amazon and Audible also go straight to our show.
There was something that happened real early in my career that with the Army that I just can't go into, other than saying made me believe then, or at least question that, okay, we have something. I don't know what it is for sure. I didn't get to like lick my chops and cut into it or anything, but I did see something a long time ago that I know is still out there, and it's out there. And hopefully there could be a day where I could maybe come forward and talk about it. But
so are you saying you're a UFO UAP guy now, Lee Starks?
I'm a little bit, yeah.
Toe in the line. You're toe in the line.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was enough to make me write a book. So
sure
it had some effect. I hear that, like, Gary Nolan.
Yeah.
I hear his story about when he was a little kid, and I think he was maybe on a paper route or something, and he saw something then, right? And Gary is strictly science. I mean, his bullshit meter is very small. You're not going to get much past him. He wants evidence. And I think that's a good way to be. I really do. There was something that happened to me before the government that two experiences, but I can't say they were like UFO related, right? They were more of a kind of a spiritual thing. Yeah. But when I look back at all the things in my life, those two things are very profound to me still. And there's a couple people that I've talked to them about. One, we're on All Things Unexplained, so this is the perfect time. One was I was working part-time. I think I might have been in high school at a butcher shop, right? And while I was working, I almost had like this voice coming on the inside. It was like I was talking to myself, only two different things, right? And I'm working, and I'm, nothing's like goofing up or causing me to like, stop working or anything. But it was like this communication, a download maybe, was coming to me and it told me to sort of go in the career path that I went to, and to always be ready and always train, always be prepared, because there's going to be a time where whatever this voice was is going to call upon me to, have to help, whatever that is. And that conversation went on for probably 45 minutes or so. It as a kid, it was fascinating. And then it was also concerning because all right, am I schizophrenic or something?
Sure.
Where's this voice coming from? But
Right.
no, it was almost like one of those downloads that they talk about. And it was very profound, and it's what changed my life in terms of career choices. I always thought, well, what's the craziest kind of warrior or law enforcement or whatever? And this is going to sound silly. At the time, Miami Vice was on, right? And
Hearing those drums,
maybe that's what that guy was telling me to do something like that, right?
Crocodile tubs.
Yeah, exactly. And so I thought, okay, maybe I could do something like that, right? And then the sensible side of me said, well, if you're going to go to college, you're probably not going to end up like Crocodile Tubbs or any of those guys. So you're going to need a backup plan. And so I chose chemistry as a backup plan. Thought, well, if the whole, secret agent thing doesn't work out, maybe the chemistry thing will. But as it turned out, the other one over.
You might have had Phil Collins in your CD changer.
Oh my God, I love that song.
Or may not have been after UFO crash retrieval teams somewhere. So
yeah, exactly.
That would be some good tunes to head after, on the hunt for some UFO crash retrieval teams. And everybody needs to check out your book on Amazon, Orbit by Lee Starks. And Lee, I wanted to ask you, just brought up this voice in your head. Is it possible this, or maybe that's not the best way to describe it, this download, this voice, but is it possible that this was the same voice as the man that your wife had an encounter with at your near-death experience?
I don't know. I need evidence, right? I'm that guy, unfortunately.
And what's your theory on that guy? Like, what do you think about that encounter?
Yeah, looking back on that whole thing, I'm a Christian, right? I believe in Jesus. I believe in all the stories of the book. But I don't necessarily believe that is the end of, that's the only, how can I say this without people going, well, you're not really a Christian if you're that open-minded, right? But God's got a big wand. He can do whatever he wants. And even the others that have near-death experiences maybe come back, and for them it was a wonderful journey to places that I obviously didn't go. I only made it to the first room, and some of these people zip through the universe and meet other people. Bill Letson, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he had a near-death thing, and he was a guy that I went to. I was having trouble talking about it to other people, and so I sort of searched out some crazy guy that had a crazy career that it happened to that I could relate with, right? It was Bill. And after talking to him, he led me to another guy, and that's John Alexander. And I hope John doesn't get upset with me for mentioning his name here, but that guy is a guy like you guys described earlier. He don't care about being in front of the camera. He don't care about all the limelight on him. He's out there searching for whatever the answers are. And he made a comment to me that I'm not yet willing to agree with him. But one of his things said, well, Lee, these aliens, they a lot of times take people, you've heard those stories. I'm like, yeah, well, who's to say that they haven't figured out a way to snatch your soul out and give you a tune-up?
Ooh.
I'm like, as much as I don't want to like even consider that, if whatever that room was that I was in, I always felt there's technology here, right? This big wall it's just like a perfect big screen TV. And so then John's voice is like chirping in my head, in my memory of our conversations. And I don't know what to think. I want more evidence. And are they all connected? Possibly. The fella that I told you that was sort of like in that room with me to my right, in one of those downloads, I got his name, right? I just feel in my soul that his name was Tarek, Tereq. And I don't know why, but that was a name that I woke up the next day and I had the guy's name, right? That dude there, his name was Tarek. I know it was. And then it caused me to think, well, in the book, I don't want to give the book away, but sort of these stories find their way into the book. And there's a part in the book where Jack Riggs, our main character of the book, learns that he has sort of a guardian angel that is assigned to him, right? Because Jack is asking this without giving it all away. He's asking questions to a being that he can't decide if it's human or non-human or whatever. And the person tells him, I'm just assigned to you, dude. I can't answer any of the other questions about anything else. I'm only with you, and your daughter is with so-and-so, and we're assigned to who we're assigned.
Yeah.
And so that came out in the book. And when you get to that point in the book, you're either gonna super duper love this book or you're gonna really hate it, I guess.
I love it already. No, people are going to love it. They're going to love it. I want to go back real quickly. Tell me the words that the guy said to your wife on the street, real quick. What did he say to your wife?
It was something like, hey, I want to ask you a question. Does your husband know how lucky he is with what he has? And
all right, Lee, I hate to break this to you, but your wife must be smoking hot.
She is.
Because he was saying, does he know how lucky he is to have you?
Yeah.
About your wife.
Yeah, I think she is. She's a beautiful soul. I mean, she really is. And
he was hitting on your wife right before you had a heart attack.
I still to this day remember almost exactly what this guy looks like. Do you know who Ron Howard is? The movie guy.
Opie.
Remember his brother?
Oh yes.
Kind of looked like him, actually, right? And when you think of his brother, mostly in the horror movies he's been in, right? It's like kind of a strange thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I when I first saw the guy walking down the sidewalk heading towards us, I'm like, God, that dude looks like Cliff Howard. That poor guy. No, Cliff, if you're listening, I think you're awesome.
Hitting on your wife. That's what happened.
Well, maybe it was. I don't know.
Yeah. Does your husband know how lucky he is with what he has? You
and then 5 minutes later,
in your car?
He got so worked up he had a heart attack. He's got to settle down.
Not to take anything away from your experience. I just,
No, it's all good. It's all good. We roll with it, right?
I'm just teasing you.
That might be a good time to, speaking of hotheads, to hit up some hot takes real quickly.
I wasn't saying hotheads. I was talking about his hot wife.
Yeah, but I was saying Lee got hot under the collar and had the heart attack.
I'm blushing.
All right, let's get into some hot takes.
Yeah, we'll just hit a few here because we're running a little bit over our time, so we really appreciate you joining us tonight, Lee, and being so gracious with your time.
No.
We appreciate your time, and I kind of want to hit on this real quick because this has been going around the UFO community, and I think you might be the perfect person to finally let us know for sure. Is Dick Cheney the UFO cabal leader?
If he ain't, he should be, right? God, doesn't it seem like that dude died like 15 years ago and is still walking around?
Oh, yes.
Let's move on. That's going to turn into politics.
Moving on, it is hot takes, so it's perfectly fine to move right along. Now, we've heard a lot that the next phase of UAP investigation is really going to be USO investigation, so unidentified submerged objects, Lee. And we've had astrophysicists who study the UFO phenomenon on with us, and they've told us that, hey, they've briefed Arrow and any three-letter organization you could think of. And the one thing they all asked their organization, UAPX, is what are your capabilities of observing and detecting UAPs underwater? They all asked that. So what's your take on USOs?
I think that anything that happens under the water is so classified and over the security of what happens underwater that I don't see that coming to the light of day. The sensors that are aboard our submarines and even some of the ships, I know people firsthand that have told me some of the speeds that they're clocking these things at is off the charts. But I don't think that we'll, unless the whole dam breaks and everything comes out, I don't see where that's going to move forward in the USO. I think that, you'll get some chatter of, oh yeah, boy, they're definitely, they're underwater and they're really fast. And, we don't have anything to compare to that. But in terms of like real evidence, I don't see them releasing anything underwater. If something comes, if we get a video of something underwater, it's probably not going to come from our Navy or Coast Guard. It's going to come from maybe cameras that are on an oil rig, or possibly some fishermen that might have cameras, or some of the sonars that are on board fishing vessels now are, it's almost like LiDAR. I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to see that. It's just amazing, some of the stuff that is out there in the private sector. And if we do get anything, it's probably going to come, I feel it's going to come from there, and nothing will be released from our government.
I think you're right, and I think that we've heard this summed up before.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
That's one of our favorite quotes from the first UAP.
Yeah, closed session.
One Ronald Moultrie.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
We'll just save that for later, table that. Lee, we like to think of this as the keystone event in ufology. What do you think about the Roswell incident, 1947?
Yeah, I think that happened. I think that there was such a, think back in those days, communications back and forth, right? Nothing like our cell phones and instant information that we have now. So you got a base commander that, got called out to a crash, and oh shit, we got a flying saucer. And then that gets released pretty quickly. And then headquarters finds out, DC finds out, no, we got to back that up. That didn't, just say it didn't happen. I believe that that's what happened with that. Now, the interesting part, there's a couple people out there that have a few different takes on it, like Diana Pasulka, Annie Jacobs. She thinks that she had good information with her reporting, and it being a Russian craft, and they had Russian children in it, right? I don't know that I can buy that. Just knowing the technology that was available then, I have a hard time seeing a country on the other side of the world remote control flying something. Let's just say that, maybe they could do remote control. Could they do it halfway around the world? I don't buy that. I think that there was probably more than one crash site out there in New Mexico. Without going into, this location is dancing in an area that I've been in the past, and so I believe it happened.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
good
Take
enough
that.
for us. For
Yeah.
sure.
Hot
And
take. I believe
I-
it happened.
I believe that. Have you read Corso's book?
Yes.
I mean, I've heard about the day after Roswell.
Corso's
Sorry,
book.
it's sort of an inside joke.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Am I going down
no,
the wrong rabbit hole?
No, Tim for like 2 years told me that I had to read The Day After Roswell. He kept saying it, harping on it. Every time we'd get off the phone, he would be like, go read The Day After Roswell, go read The Day After Roswell. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. And then I finally read The Day After Roswell. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in. I went down all the rabbit holes.
I think that it was an enjoyable book to read. I got a guy. That's one thing that I always say back home. Hey, I got a guy. You need something? I got a guy.
Yeah.
Well, I got a couple of guys that knew him and knew him before he died. And they tell me that, some of the stuff is to sell a book, you got to sell a book, but several parts of it are like spot on, I could imagine, think back in the 1940, 47, imagine the world that we lived in then after World War II. We still don't have remote controls for television sets, right? We still don't have night vision. We still don't have a lot of things that today we just assume has always been. And I could see where, even if let's pretend for a moment, it is a UFO and somehow managed to put gas in the tank in some other galaxy and got it here and then crashed, right? That's always the problem I always have with these things. How can you transverse the universe and crash here? Doesn't make sense. But let's say it did. Now you go out there and you find that, and you're with 1940s technology, tubes, and I don't even think transistors were in yet. And now you find technology or bits and pieces of it that just it doesn't even make sense. It's so far off a scale of brain registry that I don't even know what I'm looking at here. What is this? Why wouldn't you give chunks of it out to different contractors in the Defense Department to say, hey, take a look at this, figure it out? They're going to go, well, what is it? And we're going to go, I don't know. We got it from, over in Russia, or Germany had it in one of their underground locations. We don't know what it is. You tell us. And so I could see bits and pieces of stuff like that going out there, Why not?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And maybe while I've got you here, you could help me settle something or figure something out. I've been on this for quite a while. I've always felt like with Day After Roswell, it's been one of my particular skills that I can dig into one specific little thing, right, and figure this out. And I felt like with Day After Roswell, you brought up night vision. He mentions night vision was derived from reverse engineering of technology found at Roswell. And I thought, you know what? If that should be easy to trace, because basically, like, okay, my cell phone, this computer, every piece of technology, it seems like that we've got or have ever had. The cotton gin, for goodness sakes, Eli Whitney, right? I grew up in the great state of Mississippi and learned a lot about the cotton gin, Eli Whitney. But every piece of technology, we can completely trace its entire history all the way to the notes that the inventor, scribbled in the notebook on the way to its invention. And I said, you know what? This ought to be easy with night vision goggles. And you know what? It wasn't easy at all to trace the origin of night vision. It seems like maybe it came from just the Army, right?
Right.
Like just Army R&D, and it just doesn't seem to have come from any specific person whatsoever. But can you shed any light on night vision?
Um, Again, imagine receiving some technology that is so far beyond what you have that what a couple different people have told me that some of the skin of these crafts that they become almost translucent. You can't look in from the outside, but from the inside you can see all around, and so that would be like a really cool version of night vision, right? Only times 1,000 years from now or 500 years from now. And so that's your starting piece. Well, what am I going to do with that? It's 1947. I don't even know what this is. Well, somebody had to figure it out. And so one of the first versions of IR night vision still required lights, right? If you had a full moon out, you could see stuff. And we're going back to probably Vietnam era. And the quality of it then, for the guys that received them, they were pretty big devices and, took up a lot of space, heavy, real heavy. But I can see across this field. That's really cool. Okay. Now look at some of the night vision stuff that we have now that's available in the civilian market. You can get Gen 3 night vision, in multiple locations on Google. Just Google NVS 14 and you can buy them. They're out there. And now they're small, compact, it's like Joe Rogan always says, what we do here? We build things and we build them better every time. Even if they don't need to be better, that's what we do. And so whoever figured that out from that machine that's like 1,000 years advance and got us that 8-pound lead weight in the Vietnam era that can see across the field and helped, that's great. And it's just getting progressed more and more and more. But that's the stuff we know about. What's the stuff we don't know about? They may have chemicals that we don't know about. I'm a chemist, so I had to get chemistry in, right? There could be, they could have all kinds of different, just use your imagination and go sci-fi for a minute.
Yeah,
all that
that's right.
stuff is possible. What's one roadblock that the human race hasn't jumped over that hurdle yet, And if we haven't, it's only because it's in front of us. It's not behind us. We've hopped every hurdle along the way. And so
I love what Neil deGrasse Tyson said about chemicals. He said chemicals, they get a real bum rap. You look at your food and some of these chemicals in it have these long, complicated names, and they just sound like something out of a horror movie, right? And he said that, chemicals, I don't look at them in such a bad way. He said, all my best friends are made out of chemicals. So I don't look at chemicals so
Okay.
bad. But I tell you who I feel bad about. I feel bad for the poor dude that perhaps did behind the wall of research and development for the military or for a private firm, did finally break the barrier of night vision through his bits and pieces of the Roswell crash that he or she may have had. And when we having, shows, documentaries on Netflix about the dude that invented Tetris, for example. We know all about him, but we don't know squat about, and he's like a billionaire now, but we don't know squat about the dude that finally broke the night vision barrier.
And,
But
every time that question comes out, you'll hear somebody from the government come forward and say, oh, that's not true. We started, at this time and that time. And there will be a trail, right? But there's going to be a trail on any of these goodies because at some point we do figure some things out, but it's like the baby version of them, right? And the crap that these UFOs had is so far beyond, that's like the last hurdle in the race, right? And we're still like midpoint or just started the race. And so I think fiber optic was another one that,
Oh yeah.
and there was a time that I always thought, this is going back to what CJ said, you are a UFO nerd. No, I'm not actually, but I think about it occasionally. And I always thought, when I heard of SETI, I actually went out there one time and checked it out and saw all the dishes, and I went to Arecibo and was there. And I'm thinking, even back then, why would they spend all this money in hopes of sound, in hopes of frequency? What if they're using light, pulsed light, and putting information in light? None of this shit is going to pick any of that up, right? It just, to me, it didn't seem like a well thought out. If you guys are actually searching for life out there, why have you limited it to a spectrum of a frequency range? It just seems too narrow to me.
That's right. And meanwhile, before we move on to the next hot take, I want to encourage everybody out there, if you've never watched the story of the lady that invented Jenga, I encourage you to watch her story. It's quite inspiring. I'm sorry. It's the same documentary as the Tetris invention. So, well, we'll move on. I only have two more quick ones for you, Lee.
Yeah.
While I've got you here, I feel like it's really important because not too long after Roswell, we hear about this potential meeting between one of our presidents and perhaps an alien race. So
that's an
what's your
awesome one, isn't it?
Oh yeah. And what's your take
Well,
on does our government have an agreement with at least one alien race?
Why would it just, if one has come here, right? It's a big universe out there. How is it that in that whole universe, we think we're the one that's here and only one could find its way here? So to me, that's not logical. If there's one, there has to be more than one, I would think. And some of them may show up in orbs. Some of them, because that's it. It could be a whole life thing that we don't even understand. Some, I call it, fill up their tank with gas and fly here from somewhere else, which the belief is that one particular president, was out there in the Air Force Base, and they landed, and they met. Yeah, I think I believe it. Why not? If it's true, if any of this shit is true, all it is a snowball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying that, well, okay, maybe there was a crash at Roswell, but that's it? Well, if there was a crash at Roswell, why wouldn't some of these other things? What do you think? They only had one spacecraft? No.
And somebody was driving or
somebody was
controlling it.
Yeah, right. And I've heard people say, well, if it were us and this was another planet, first we would send drones. Yeah, sure we would. And then, we might send a recon team. And this kind of gets into the book too. There's a sort of a scary version of this in the book. What do recon teams do? They just sit and watch. They don't interact. If you're a sniper and you got a sniper's hide somewhere, it most likely, the odds are real good that you're not there to like shoot someone. You're there to observe, take notes, figure shit out, report back. And so there's a whole scale of just that to this, right? There's a whole scale of the drone stuff. And then at some point, got to meet somebody, got to have a meeting. And so, that's would be further up the chain of command than the people just watching. And so, yeah, I think if they are here at some point, they probably are either gonna talk to somebody or have talked to somebody. And it just seems like the timing would have been good back there. When you throw into that time frame, and then look how much we've advanced. with stuff, just stuff, your cell phone, you know, that cell phone you have now is a bigger computer than you had 10 years ago, than your desktop was 15 years ago. And so,
Then the space shuttle, then the
yeah,
Apollo.
well, you know, the one thing that I like to say about that, a couple people asked me, and why, if you had a space program and you flew around space shuttles, why would you just end it and not have a backup plan? And they're like, what do you mean? I go, the space program just stopped. There's no more space shuttles. And we're not getting these cool films of a space shuttle on a 747. All that is done. Do you think they just quit? Or do you think they got something better that they don't want to tell us yet? And so, you know, is it NHI or is it us?
Or did they ever go to the moon?
That's another question. You know, I always thought that was nonsense, right? And then I heard, I can't remember who it was that was talking, but they were very thorough and very scientific and did the math on how much fuel it would have actually took to fly to the moon.
That's right.
And I'm not capable of doing that kind of math. He sounded smart. So I'm like, yeah, right on. That sounds good. I like that guy. So,
Same.
you know, yeah. So I don't know. It's pretty far away. I know that. And,
Yes.
but-
Well, Lee, you are such a knowledgeable guy. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of you in the UFO, UAP podcast circuits. We're so
I want to be low key.
okay, then we'll keep you for our own. We'll just keep you
Okay.
here for our own. I said I wanted to be low key too, mind you.
Yeah,
And
and here
I
we
am,
are, right?
4 years later.
Yeah.
Still on the air, yes. But
That's
everything that
awesome.
you have shared with us is so fascinating, and I cannot wait to read your book. I know that I'm going to be messaging Tim like, "Did you read this part? Have you seen this part yet? Did you read? What do you think he meant by that?" He's giving
Just
away
be
all the
aware.
secrets.
Some salty language, some military type humor.
That's okay.
You know, okay.
Yeah. I'm not worried about that one bit.
Yeah.
And I'll just keep
okay.
telling myself, this is fiction.
It is.
This is fiction.
It is. It's fiction. It's a great story though, and the cast of characters, I think every one of them is unique. I've been asked, you know, who do you think your writing style is, and have you read any Elmore Leonard books? Or
I don't think so. No.
he did like Get Shorty and
Oh, okay.
Jackie
Oh, yeah.
Brown, those types of books, right?
Yeah.
And when you're reading those books, he never describes the person in the book. You build
You
that.
just get their
You
character.
build
and
it in your own
personality.
brain, right? To
Yeah.
me, that's a master of his craft. It's,
Sure.
you know, I just read this whole story and this character. I know exactly what he looks like just based off of his voice inflections or his
Mhm.
mannerisms, and you put it together. And so I tried to do that a lot in this book too,
Oh, cool.
where I don't really describe the people. It's up to you to put that voice of that person and build that character. And so I think I did okay on that one. I'm kind of
Yes.
proud of that, obviously, right? I'm talking about it.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Tim, any further questions before we wrap it up for the night?
Well, I think we do have one listener question that we want to get to. And then Lee did tell me before we came on tonight that he would be interested in coming back sometime with us, perhaps.
Yeah.
And because we have so much more that we could definitely talk about. And that's the thing about ufology. There's more every day. There's more and more every day.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
So, Lee, this is, let's see, a great question. Sam from New York. Do real UFO crash retrieval teams exist? And what do you think they might have discovered so far?
Wow, isn't that a great question?
Be careful. Be careful with it.
Yeah. Now, it would be more believable if we were retrieving something that we built ourselves, right? But you don't need to know what it is that we're retrieving because it's so secret and so secure. And that could give an appearance of we have recovery teams picking up spacecrafts, right? And so, yes, I believe that retrieval teams do exist. I believe that some defense contractors have their own teams, and I don't think they play nice. And I think that our military also has some retrieval teams. The question is, what exactly is it they're retrieving? Is it someone else's or is it ours? Or could it be something from Russia or China? You know, I believe that the Earth is categorized up into zones. You know, South America and North America is kind of ours. You know, we have to cooperate with those countries, obviously, but it would be hard pressed for us to fly into China with a recovery team, right?
Right.
But maybe a little easier in Brazil. You make that phone call and say, hey, you know, we just lost something down there. We're going to be there. We're going to pick it up. Stay away. And I believe that stuff like that can happen. And so it's in the book. It's in the book.
Hey, perfect.
Pick up your copy today.
Find it in the link in the description.
Hey,
so fun.
I've got it's in paperback now and hard, and it's also on Kindle. And you can just go on Kindle and read it for free if you have whatever the Kindle membership is, or you know. And also, if you don't have it, you can read, like, I don't know, a few chapters. I think I didn't actually ever go on there and start pushing the button, but it'll give you an idea of what it is, you know. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, then that's too bad. It's too sad.
Well, I hope that everybody who listens goes out and picks up a copy and then come back to this video and give us your opinion. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about Lee's book, Orbit.
Yeah, I want to say before we go, man, I appreciate you guys having me on. This was a new thing for me, and it's kind of a surprise. When I started writing this book, I wasn't writing it for anyone, just for myself. I had like zero plans of putting this out there. And Mary Lou, the lady that we talked about in the beginning, I sort of give it to her and I said, listen, you got to do me a favor. If this is a piece of crap, tell me. Don't let me put myself out there. She's like, I'm blaming it on her. She said, oh, no, this is really good. You got to keep going, you know. And one thing that we didn't talk about in the book, I can get this out real quick. Yeah. There's an ongoing side story in the book with the main characters, Jack Riggs, and his daughter is her name's Kat. And so because Kat was in chapter 1 and experienced seeing that, well, there's storyline that keeps bringing Kat back into it. Oh. And the next book is going to really bring Kat into it big time. And cool. Here we have this super, super sweet, of course, because it's fiction, totally athletic, super smart, you know, hits all those punch marks. And when I wrote this book, I do this thing when I'm going to write. The whole tenor of the book on this one is honor, integrity, right? Those words come to mind. Yes. That's what I want this book to be, honor, integrity. And the next book is revenge. And so one of the things my editor, when we're writing this, she's like, nobody's died yet. When are you going to kill somebody? I mean, you know, you did all this stuff at work. Surely this is going to be a bloody book, right? And it just, it became this experience of being part of this team and seeing how it functions, you know? Yeah. And I was like, no, that's more important than killing people. We can kill people anytime, you know? And so book 2 is revenge.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I hope you'll come back and join us when book 2 comes out so we can talk about that one.
Awesome. I'd love it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody who has joined us. Thank you, Lee, for your time and all of your insight. I've loved every second of it, and we will look forward to the next time. Tim, I'm going to throw it to you for final remarks.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks again to Lee Starks for joining us tonight. Pick up your copy of Orbit. You can get it in the link in the show description. I bought it on Kindle, and it is a great, harrowing read. I mean, it's really perfect for somebody that likes UFOs, for somebody that likes action, intense drama. It's got it all. I really enjoy it. And Lee, I can't wait for the sequel and have you back on again. And
can we give away a free copy to our 12,000th subscriber?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, let's do that. We're gonna give away we are close. I also would like to give away one to a commenter from earlier. Let's check where we're at. We're at 11,997. So
we need 3.
We've been gaining.
All right, Gates,
So,
hit that subscribe button. Murphy, I know you're watching. Hit
12,000th gets a free copy of the book.
I also want to send one to UFO Intros for joining us tonight. I know they've been tuned in, and so I've got their contact information on Twitter. They're joining us from X as well, and they have a great show, and I know they would love your book, Lee, and
Awesome.
They would probably welcome you on UFO Intros as well. Another great Twitter space show there. So our
send me
12
their address, and I'll give it my John Hancock and
for
tell
sure.
them thanks.
Our 12,000th subscriber, we're gonna get you a signed copy of Orbit by Lee Starks. That is pretty exciting. So hit those subscribe buttons, folks, and then after you've hit the subscribe buttons, get off your screens for a little while and go outside. Look up in the skies. Maybe you'll find some orbs. Maybe you'll find a Starlink in the sky or a satellite. Get out in the woods. Go camping. Get away from screens. Get away from technology for a while. I think it'll do you a world of good. You may not see a UFO. Okay? You may not spot a Bigfoot. But you might just find yourself out there somewhere. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. And now I got to find the outro video. There it is.
All things unexplained.
What's your hot take on Travis Taylor?
I've got an exclusive for you guys if you want it about the Alaska.
We do.
Okay.
Dr. Taylor was revealed to be the chief scientist of the UAP task force with the Pentagon.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
All Things Unexplained is free to watch on YouTube and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support our show, you can visit our YouTube store. Additionally, you can find us on Venmo under All Things Unexplained. Be sure to check out our website, allthingsunexplained.com. All proceeds from the sales of Dr. Mounce's books on Amazon and Audible also go straight to our show.